Hi everyone, it's Rochie, the Frugalista Mom, and welcome again for another episode of Getting Candid with Rochie. And I know it's a big change for you guys because we moved our time slot from Wednesday, 8 p.m. to now Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But guess what? I know it is a request from most of you, so here I am saying yes to that request. Now, before we begin, I have this question for you. Have you ever thought of changing careers and actually leaving your 9 to 5 job and start your own business? Have you thought of that? I know most of you are, especially those who got crazy during the COVID season. And then I have another question for you. Do you have a family recipe that you think will be a good fit for your business? Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, yes, I have that. I have that. Well, tonight is something for you guys because our guest, our very special guest tonight, did both. Not only did she change careers, she also started a business and now built a business, started, and now have a thriving business using her family's recipes. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Miss Jennifer Reynolds of the Sauce Goddess. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Great. I'm excited to share all my story and whatever anybody wants to ask me. So.
Oh, that's good, right? So those who are budding entrepreneurs out there who are like, can I do this now? Can I do this? Well, guess what? Just type in your questions both on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll try our best to answer those questions. Right, Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay. So before Sauce Goddess, what was your day job?
I was actually in the printing industry. I was selling large equipment, imaging devices and things like that, and everyday supplies like ink and solvents and that kind of thing. It's actually what my degree is in. My degree is in printing management from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Wow. So that is something different because from the printing industry, you suddenly went to the food industry, right?
Yeah.
But before that, was the printing industry something that you always wanted to do? Or
I don't know that I can say it's something I always wanted to do, but I was in outside sales, which if you're working for a company, sales is probably as close to being an entrepreneur as you can get because typically there's no ceiling and you can kind of make your own hours, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed the printing industry because I've always been curious about how things are made and done, and printing is manufacturing. It not so much now, but way back when it was, it's manufacturing, and it's kind of interesting to see how things are made. Mm-hmm. So it was neat, and that's what I studied, and really
wow.
Cool. Yeah.
So what was the turning point in your life that says, I think I want to have my own business?
Well, I was selling some equipment, imaging equipment and things like that. And traditionally, when you do that, there's a day when there's installation. And so, everyone's kind of hunkered down. All the installers are there and the employees are being disrupted like crazy because this equipment's coming in and out. And so I would say, hey, why don't I buy pizza for everybody? And then pizza turned into, hey, why don't I make barbecue? And I'd drag over my grill and I'd do barbecue chicken and I'd do all this stuff. And everyone would just rave about how great it was. And then the next install would come and then it would be all about the barbecue. And it started my mind started focusing less on helping my printing companies grow their business and more on how can I feed them after I helped them grow their business. And so I knew the transition had happened when I just kind of shifted my focus, and I knew my heart was in one place. And even my boss at the time, he knew, he's like, your heart's not here anymore. And I thought, you're exactly right. You read me like a book. So yeah.
I would love to be one of your coworkers at that time. Free barbecue.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty fun. All my customers loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing. So it was neat.
That was so neat. Now, okay, speaking of barbecue, for all those out there asking, so what is the sauce goddess? She actually makes barbecue seasonings
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sauces. So, yes, barbecue. So, what was the inspiration behind the sauce goddess?
Well, the inspiration was actually my dad's recipe. The original sauce is the sticky sweet one here, and my dad didn't like liquid smoke. As a matter of fact, he hated liquid smoke, and
Mhm.
I grew up with barbecue sauce that didn't taste like anything you could get in the store. I mean, at the time when I was little, like a little kid, there was, I don't know, half a dozen brands of barbecue sauce in the store, and now there's 50 or something.
A lot, right?
It's it just, you didn't have any choice, and so he made his own, and I grew up with that. I went off to college to Cal Poly and bought my first jar of barbecue sauce. And I was in my apartment with my roommates, and I opened it up to make ribs, and I was like, "What is this? This is awful." It was because I wasn't used to any of that weird smoky aftertaste and all of that. I just wanted
Mhm.
that brown sugar delicious glaze, and so I got his recipe from him and started making ribs for my friends, and one thing led to another, and they challenged me. They said, "Don't get old and wonder what if you'd ever done something with that recipe." And I didn't want to get old and wonder what if. And some of those friends might be watching this interview right now, and they know who they are. Oh, your fault.
Oh no, it's okay. That's why we're called Getting
Oh,
Candid.
wonderful. Thank you.
No, but that is very interesting because you know what, I think all of us have that little secret family recipe for a chicken, for a macaroni
Yes.
salad or mac and cheese, those things. And I'm surprised because it is just it's not just right, but if you think about it, oh, this is not a crazy thing. It's a condiment. It's just, most people say it's just a sauce, but guess what, people? Some brands has been there for like hundreds of years. And, most of us can't eat without these condiments, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of sauces that have a deep, deep history. I mean, barbecue sauce in one form or another has a deep history, but there's a lot of other condiments. Condiment is it's just it's something that enhances food. It's like salsa enhances Mexican food, and barbecue sauce and condiments and relish and all of they're all in the same general category. They're flavor enhancers. They make food
Mhm.
taste better. And one of the things I like to say about our stuff, and you have had samples because I sent you some product.
Mhm.
You can taste what you put it on because it doesn't have all of the flavorings, and it doesn't have all of the liquid smoke and all the other stuff. So if I put this sauce that's great on ribs, if I put this on salmon, I'm going to taste awesome salmon. I'm not going to taste
Mhm.
barbecue sauce and is that salmon underneath the barbecue sauce? There's no question. It's the flavor is the protein is foremost, or the vegetable you put it on. That's the deal. And it's
Yeah,
kind of
actually, that's the thing about condiments because it doesn't. The good thing about condiments is that it has to really enhance the flavor. It's like fries and
right.
ketchup. But if you make like a fries, like fries that's already has the ketchup on it, no, it doesn't taste right because it has to have that certain, I would say, proportion that would make other things
Right.
taste better, right? Or even the mayonnaise. You could say, I can't eat mayonnaise out of the jar, but I could slather it on what? On my bread or I'm so bad, but I eat fries with
With
ketchup and
mayonnaise.
mayonnaise
Mhm.
on it. So I can do that. So I know, but the thing is, if the condiment starts to overpower a certain, as you mentioned, like the salmon or um, even potatoes, you don't like it anymore because it's
Right.
not French. Like I would say, it's not French fries anymore. It's not ribs anymore. It's
Right.
just the sauce, right?
It's a blur, and
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that tasting the flavors is really awesome. And I'm just thankful that my dad had a great recipe that I grew up with. He was a very good cook. And yeah, I mean, it's just I was really lucky. He taught me how to grill a perfect steak, taught me how to cook a great piece of fish, and he gave me a barbecue sauce recipe. I had to get him to use measuring cups. That was a little bit of a trick because he wasn't used to using measuring cups. He was like just a little of this, a little of that, and let's just that tastes about right. Let me add something else, you know, and that was how he cooked, and that was how he made the sauce. So I said, if I'm going to get the recipe, we got to, you know, intercept with here, put it in here first. I'll write it down. You just put it in here to start. And then when he'd reach for, you know, the container of ketchup, for instance, because he used ketchup in his basic sauce, and he'd reach for that, and I'd say, stop here. You know, put it here first. Okay. Then I'd write it down, plus 1/4 cup, you know, because he would be tweaking it as he would cook it. So.
I know. It reminds me of my grandma, because my grandma used to tell me when I was young, it's like, if you use recipes of other people, like, you know, like those the measurements, that means you don't know how to cook because you're just following somebody's taste buds. And I'm like, okay.
I think I love recipes for this. I don't know about you, Rochie, but I love recipes as a starting point. For me, it's a place to jump off and say, wow, that combination sounds great. I wonder what it would be like if I added this, you know? And so I'm always doing that. I'm always adding a little something here and there that tweaks it just a little bit to make it my version of what I want to taste. And anyway.
Yeah, actually, before I'm like my grandparents and my dad, who always just put stuff in it. And then I realized when I started my blog, it's funny because my kids they told me, Mom, you can't die. I said, why I can't die? Because if you die, we're gonna starve. Because at that time they have food, you know, they have food allergies. They're gluten-free, dairy-free, you know, all the 9 yards. And they're like, you can't die because we don't know what to eat. And that's when I realized I have to write down all these recipes so that I said, if something happens to me, they know what to follow, or just in case when they grow up, get out of my house. I wish they
get out
would
of my
know
house
how to
and you can still make chicken and rice or whatever, right?
Because my kids are like, we can't leave the house. Actually, my oldest daughter now, it's so weird because she's going to college soon, but she'll stay home because of COVID. She was telling me, if ever she moves out of the house, every Sunday she would go to my house, buy all the ingredients, let me cook, and then she'll bring Tupperwares
back to school. Yeah,
back to school. And I'm like, really? No, you gotta learn to cook.
So the funny thing is, my dad's sauce recipe, for years he made it and he would say, hey, I'm making sauce, come on over and bring your jars.
Ooh.
I mean, this was, you know, when I was in college, but when I was in college, but then also after I got out of college and moved back to San Diego, he would just let me know. And then at some point they were like, well, we're retiring, we're moving. And I'm like, I need the recipe. Wait a minute.
No,
that's when it all started, you know, really. It was like, wait a minute, I can't bring my jars over and refill anymore. Hold
on. Panic, right?
Exactly. How am I going to make ribs?
Okay. So I know now that special sauce is something that started your business, right?
It did, but it exploded. It had babies. It had, you know, I mean, it's like, I started with 2 sauces and then it just went.
I know, right? But can you share with us the story of the business? You know, like, how did you start?
Well, it started with my dad's recipe, and after they retired, I got the recipe and I was making ribs and chicken and things like that for my friends a lot. And, you know, they challenged me. They just basically said, you know, don't get old and wonder what if you'd ever done something with that recipe. And so I actually went home we were talking on the beach, and I went home from the beach and got on the computer, and up popped a website that said, I kid you not, the header on the website was, so you want to start your own gourmet sauce company, do you?
Really?
Computer like, what? This is perfect.
Talk
This is
about
exactly what I needed to
signs.
see, you know, and I'm like, all the answers are right here.
That is so interesting. It's just
Yeah.
like in your face, right?
I
And
just
then what?
happened to ask
Yeah.
the right question, and that's
And
crazy.
what are some of the steps that you have to make? Like, do you started making sauce at home? Do you have like
Yeah. So
factory? Yeah.
I had a not a lucky route, but things kind of lined up in place for me in some interesting ways. So I knew right off the start, because I had worked for a distributor in the printing industry. I knew that there were distributors in the food industry. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew how I had to schedule. I knew what my pricing had to be. I knew my model involved these middle people that were going to be marking stuff up. So I knew if I had to be here on the retail price, I knew I had to be here to these distributors because they were going to be selling it, and then the retailers were going to be marking it up. I knew all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
knew the money side of it pretty well. And then I just had to make the product, and I made a test batch, and I put it in jars with little handwritten labels. And if any of you watching have made homemade jams for Christmas gift, you know the little hex jars with the little gold lids that I'm talking about.
Oh yes.
You can put the little ink, inkjet labels on the side. I did that. I made up some just little dummy labels for the sticky sweet and the sweet and spicy sauce. And I took them into a store in San Diego in PB called Great News Cookware and Cooking School. And I went in and I talked to the owner, Ron, and it's possible, I think we're friends on Facebook. Ron, you could be watching this right now. And it's all your fault too. But I went in there and I met with his kitchen manager, Megan, I think. Gosh, Megan. Yeah. Anyway, I met with Megan and presented the products, and I presented them in like November. And, he was just gift store, all kitchen cookware, gifty stuff. All the knives I've ever owned, I bought there, cookware, all that stuff. And he called me back about a week later and said, all right, it's Ron. I never do this. I never do this during the holidays, but could you have product ready by the end of January? Because we're having this open kitchen day and we'd like to bring in your sauces. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can have it. I'll figure it out. And I hung up the phone. I thought, okay, now I need to figure out who's going to make my sauce. Because I didn't have that part of the picture filled in yet. I didn't know who was going to make my sauce. And so I just said, yeah, I can do that. And then I figured it out after the fact.
See,
Crazy.
that's one thing that I learned, from some of the entrepreneurs I've met in expos and in other things. They just said yes, even though, everything is not like planned to the T. Just say yes on a challenge, and that's, try to figure out later on, right?
Exactly. Well, you can figure it out. I mean, it's not perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. You just have to do what you say you're going to do. So when I told Ron that, yes, I would have product, I needed to make sure I had product. I couldn't fall down at that point. So I found somebody fast and had product and had labels designed and the whole shebang. I was ready in a month and a half. It was pretty awesome. And we launched in January of 2001. So it's been 20 years.
Wow, 20 years.
Overnight success in a short 20 years. It's amazing.
Wow, but I would say that is something amazing, because most businesses, they fall down in the 7-year period or the 5-year time. And you've made it 20 years, almost 21. So that's like three 7 years already, right?
Yeah.
3 lifetimes. Wow. So of the 20 years that you've been in the business, what do you think were some of the challenges you faced along the way?
The biggest challenge is actually something you touched on a few minutes ago, and that is brand awareness.
Okay.
Have you heard of my brand?
Mm-hmm.
How many people out here have never heard of Sauce Goddess? They've never seen our cute little logo, the little lady with the big hair, the sunglasses.
See, I have one. See, this is the cute one, right?
Yes. That's
Is that you? Is that you?
It's supposed to be me. Yes.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
brand awareness is key. And if consumers have never heard of it, retailers have never heard of it, it's still a huge hurdle for me right now, because yeah, you might go out in San Diego and a portion of the population might have heard of it, but certainly not what should, given that I live there and I've been doing this for 20 years in San Diego. It's it's the biggest challenge, and it's the hardest thing to manage while you're also managing your business. It's the hardest thing from I've got to fill this PO, I've got to answer this phone call, I've got to handle this shipment, I've got to do this accounting, and oh yeah, that's right, I got to get on social media and do brand
I
awareness.
post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
we're talking, because this is really cool brand awareness, and I like sharing my story and paying it forward too. I mean, if there's business owners out there watching this that or people with a dream and a recipe, from grandma or whatever,
Yeah.
I want to be able to help. But that is our biggest challenge. That and money will always be a challenge. The bigger you get, the more money you need. I mean, it never goes away.
Yeah, actually, that's one thing I noticed too about small businesses, because they tend to have limited budget. And the last thing, because I am a marketing major, that's what I'm saying. And actually, I'm both marketing and a psychology major.
Okay.
And when that's what I went to school for. And then it's funny because if I usually go to some brands, like because before I used to work in advertising, and then I'd tell them, oh, would you like to advertise your brand and everything? They're like, oh, we don't have the budget for it. And I'm like, don't you know that's crucial? Because if people do not know your brand, how can you have sales?
That's right. That's right. You can't sell anything until people know who you are.
Yeah, because and most of the time I've seen most traditional businesses, that's the last thing on their list is the marketing budget or the PR budget. And I'm like, how can you have sales? I mean, you may have bottles in there, and
it goes hand in hand with sales. That's why a lot of times they'll say sales and marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're different, and marketing is not advertising. They're all different, but nothing happens until the sale is made. And the sale doesn't get made unless somebody knows about what you're selling.
Yeah, it all boils down, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the house of cards comes down when there's nobody knows what's on the bottom level, right? So
yeah, that's the thing. Another tip, guys: learn how to advertise your brand, give brand awareness, right? That's what I'm saying. And then here's another thing I want to ask too: is that you are a woman-owned company in a male-dominated field. Why? Because I know the barbecue field is always, the barbecue industry is always male. Every time you're on TV, like those barbecue cook-off, it's always men. And I don't know, those people in the grill are always men.
I know. So it's not a bad place to be. There's a lot of men.
I know, right? But and of course, if you have men, they're very, very competitive, and I would say very intimidating, especially if you're like, oh, you're a woman, So
yeah,
anyway,
you can't possibly know. Well, it's traditionally, it is definitely man's domain. The whole man fire, it's all it's all their thing when they're outdoors. It's yeah, totally. There's a lot of great competitive barbecue chefs that are women. There's just not a ton of them relative to the number of men. So I don't know what the stats are. Maybe 1 in 10 or 1 in 20, is a woman. And even in the barbecue team circuit, like I've competed, and there can be a team full of it could be 2 women and 4 guys or something like that. And the women are going to get stuck doing the prep and the detail stuff and the things to make it look pretty. And the guys are going to be out, slinging meat and doing the manly meat thing. But it's funny. I came from the printing industry, which is another male dominated industry.
Oh yes.
So I'm obviously okay doing business with men, and I'm okay in a male dominated industry. I mean, I think it's kind of fun. It's what makes Sauce Goddess stand out. is we are different, and maybe not. I don't want to say more delicate, because I'm certainly not more delicate with some of our flavors. They're in your face.
Oh, yes.
But we've got some rock star specialty stuff that's, really quite fun if you like spicy food. But we've won awards. We've got 20 some awards, I think, something like that, and counting. It's fun, and I'm okay. We can stand on our own, even as a woman in a male dominated business. It's just getting the consumers to accept that, a woman from California could have the best barbecue rub in Houston, Texas, for instance. And that is actually a real life example. I took first place for barbecue rub in Houston, Texas. The Texas boys were like, excuse me, how did you, they were like, wait, Sauce Goddess? Who's Sauce Goddess? They're all looking around, they all know each other, and they're like, wait, what happened here? How did we lose that?
Wow, that's interesting. See,
I'm just going, yeah,
we're the girls, the one with the pretty label. With lipstick and sunglasses.
I know. It's perfect. Yeah.
That would be perfect. But that's a good story. I didn't know about that. Yeah. You should write it on your website as well.
Yeah. I probably should. I probably should talk about that. Yeah, that's a good point. Let me add that to my list of things to do.
Yeah, because because they would always say like women can't grill or women, but I'm like, you know what? Women are cook. So whatever you put in that one, they know how to make something taste good. So yes. I think that's a good advantage. And just like my grandma used to say, if you're a good cook, anything, you could make do of whatever you have in your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for example, you got a tin of just this spice, maybe we'll put it on eggs. Let's just like what I did early this morning. I told you I used the Moroccan twist rub.
Yes. Yeah.
I put a pinch of it in my cute avocado toast, right?
Awesome.
But it's really tasty.
It's a great idea, because I don't think about doing that with that spice. So I like hearing other things that people are doing, and especially, someone like you're dealing with food allergies, and you're dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff. So, it's great for me to hear those ideas, because that's the clientele. That's, part of the clientele we serve is the celiac community and the vegan community and all of that. I mean, we're vegan and celiac products. So, it's a double win for everybody that's got dairy allergies or egg allergies or whatever. But we deal with that crowd, and then we also deal with the barbecue crowd. So it's everybody that wants to cook big pieces of meat, and oh, by the way, I'm vegan.
Put it in your vegetables, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, some of those veggies need something, right?
Yeah. And so what do you think are your advantages? I mean, we know we've tackled it, but what do you think are your advantages as a woman business owner?
Advantages as a woman business owner? Gosh, I think just, I'm trying to think of advantages as a woman in a male-dominated industry.
Yes.
I think that we do get a little bit of maybe special consideration sometimes. Now there's some noise in the background. There's a lot of what do I want to say? There's a lot of diversity programs going on now at the manufacturer level and at the retailer level, and there's a lot of companies, like Kroger and Safeway and Ahold Delhaize in the grocery business that are in Walmart. They're going out there, and they are they're really hunting down for woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned. They're looking for that, and so being a woman-owned business right now it's a huge advantage. I also think that women are looking to help each other out. And so,
Yeah.
our labels now say woman owned on there because, when people are in the grocery store, I want them to see that. I want them
Mhm.
to see that little woman owned right below our little gluten-free certification, and know that, hey, a woman owns this company and why not support women?
Yeah, actually, because I think we've noticed, noticed that difference. Not all maybe in the past few years, because like most people would say, women are mostly the buyers. I would say that because like in companies, like when I did market research before, all the buyers are majority women. They're the one buying stuff for the house,
Yes.
for makeup, for everything. Usually, and then if you are, I would say, male businesses, they just focus on a product, but they don't really know what's in the women's mind because they're the number one buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like for example, I was surprised before that most people don't know that the people behind, I would say, in the cosmetic industry are actually male, and they're like, how do
That's
they know what I?
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, how do they know that my skin is like this? And they don't even care. That's why I would say maybe the touch of that little touch that what your consumer really wants
Yeah.
is easier, because if you're a woman, you know what most women want, and women talk to you on what they want, right?
That's it. And I think that, I'm not a mom myself, but I'm an aunt a million times over, just all of my friends' kids and everything. And I know how a busy mom is. I know that everybody wants something that's easy. I mean, everyone in life, actually, whether you're a mom or not, you want something that's easy.
Mhm.
You want food that's easy. You want, your all of the chores, the things that would be chores, you want to be easier rather
Mhm.
than more difficult. And actually that's one of the things that we've done on the website is I have a ton of recipes on the website because I want people to, if they buy something, to be able to go, oh, great, I can make these 10 things and look at these cool recipes.
Mhm.
And I can
Yeah,
make
yeah.
my own if I want to, and that's okay.
Mhm.
So I think I guess it does there is an advantage from a empathetic standpoint too, because I feel like I get the busy mom thing,
Yeah, you always
especially
get that.
working mom thing. It's a
Mhm.
selfless, selfless job.
Yeah. So right now, we have COVID, right? And then a lot of people last year or early this year are still losing their jobs. And I know I think it is a point right now where some people said, oh, I could think more on what I wanted, on what's my passion. Do you think it's a good time to start their own business?
Yeah, I think any time is a good time to start a business if you have a plan. Um, COVID was super hard on so many people, and it's changed the workforce forever. It really has. I think it's there are certain portions of the economy in the U.S. that they're not coming back, or
Mhm.
they'll come back so drastically different. It's just crazy. But I think that if you have the right plan and the right strategy, and you have a passion for something, a passion that, driving force, kind of a passion that, you can't live without doing it. You got to have a strategy. You've got to have a way to share it. You've got to have people that want to buy it, whether it's a service or a product or whatever it is, but you have to have a customer that wants to spend money on it. You have to have a way to get it to them. That's where your strategy and your plan comes in. And you have to have the desire to do all that, because it's really, really hard. I mean, starting a business is so much work. It's so much sacrifice. It's so fun because you control your own destiny, but it's a lot of work. I always joke that owning my own businesses, I get all the glory and all the blame. It all stops here, and that's just, it's part of owning a business. And COVID hasn't changed that part of owning a business. COVID has just made money a little bit tighter. It's made people a little bit more hesitant maybe to do deals. And yet at the same time, there are people that have businesses that have pivoted and totally flipped their business inside out and come out the other side just better and stronger and bigger and ready to, plow on because of COVID. They happen to be in a particular industry that was affected one way or another. We happened to have a very good year last year. However, it was very difficult getting business done because we couldn't get some of the products. So while everyone was busy cooking at home and buying sauce, we had difficulties getting it. And our co-packers that manufacture our product, they had problems getting the glass to get it and getting the lids and getting the labels done and all this because everyone's running on skeleton crews because nobody can be near each other and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, but I'm sorry, I kind of went around and around, but I do think that any time is a great time to start a business. I just think if you really have a passion and a plan and a customer, go for it. Are you still there, Rochie? So that's really all I was going to say about starting a business during COVID. I'm sorry I went on a little bit of a extended discussion there, but it's fun to own your own business. It's really I'm so happy I did it 20 years ago. Really, it was a chance I took, and it's just been absolutely wonderful. I'm wondering if it's okay for me to tell you all about my products. I'd love to see if anyone's asking any questions, but I'm not sure how to do that. So I guess let's do this. Why don't I tell you about my products? Okay. I'm just going to go through the lineup if that's okay. Sticky Sweet, Dad's recipe. Dad is actually right over my shoulder. That's him. Right after retirement, sitting on a fence, super excited. Sticky Sweet brown sugar barbecue sauce. It doesn't get gooier and stickier than this. This is ribs, chicken, and salmon, and anything wrapped in bacon, if you're into that thing. This is the other sauce that was launched at the same time as the Sticky Sweet. This is sweet and spicy. It's my version of his sauce. It has some cayenne and a little less sugar. It's fabulous. I actually just put a video up on YouTube of something called bacon onion chutney. It's a video of how to make that. That is the single best recipe I've ever written with any of my products, and it's with this sauce. Third up in our lineup, the third product I created was Big and Tangy sauce. That's a black pepper sauce, low in sugar, tiny bit spicy. But it's really more about beef and pork and chicken with that one. It's lousy on fish. It's really great to add to chili. You can make chili that tastes like it's been cooking for a day. I was going to say weeks, but you don't want chili that's been cooking for a week.
Oh, wow. Those are amazing. Actually,
Yeah.
I haven't tried the black pepper one.
Okay. You want to try it on camera right now? Why don't you bust it out? Do it right now. Shake it first.
Of course, I can't open it. They said you have to bang it first.
Well, you can.
And I can't open it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. I got it.
Okay, now put the lid back on a little bit and shake it, because we don't use any xanthan gum, and so it can separate. We don't use any additives or flavorings or anything in any of our sauces. And so
see, actually, that's the one thing I liked about it, because we had food allergies and food restrictions. The less ingredients you have, the better. And of course, I don't need my beloved Google to answer what kind of ingredient that is.
Right. Well, it's I have handed this jar to 7-year-olds in a grocery store during a tasting and said, "Can you read that? Do you know what everything is?" And the only word that stumped them was puree. Everything else, they knew what it was. It's a 7-year-old. I mean, it's all food. What do you think?
It's good. It has a nice kick.
Just a little bit, and it's enhanced by the vinegar. So they're linked together, and as the vinegar cooks out, some of that heat goes away.
See, I like the heat because it is the heat that you get from the back of your tongue,
Yeah.
but it's not burning.
Right.
It's not something that you would sweat, because I don't like much heat, but I like that heat. It's
Awesome.
good.
So meatloaf topper, chili, marinade for tri-tip. If you can get tri-tip in your local grocery store, it's wonderful for that. And then I can use it for pulled pork if I want something that's low sugar.
Yeah, that's good. See, usually, because one thing I like about having this kind of sauces, because one of the things that I like to make for my kids is pulled pork, and I use it in the slow cooker.
Yeah, it's perfect for that.
So I would put like one of the cheapest cut of meat is the chuck or something, because you don't need fancy things if it's in the slow cooker. So I just put it in there, maybe a little, some onions, or a lot of onions, because I love onions. And then I would put in a big jar of sauce, because I would make like 4 or 5 pounds of it. So a jar of it, and then let it cook 6 hours, 8 hours on low. And by dinner time, it's there.
Yeah, and it depends on whether you've got a bone in there or not, that kind of thing. On whether it might take a little bit longer. I always find that the meat around the bone, that bone, if it starts out from your fridge, is usually cold. Yeah. And so the meat around the bone always takes the longest to cook, because that's starting out surrounding something very cold. And so as everything else is cooking, it's still, hanging on to something cold.
But that is one of the easy, because I said, if you have a good sauce, you don't have to be fancy on anything in that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you have you talked about the rubs?
I haven't talked about the rubs. So you have a set of tins of the rub, and we're going to show off our little sampler. Oh, look!
There you go. I got one.
So we sell them individually, and then this is our new sampler, and I just absolutely love it. It turned out awesome. All the nutritional stuff's on the back, and I just want to point out, look at the calories. Da, 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 da.
0.
Zeros and 2 5s. Yep. And that's just because there's peppers in there, and peppers have calories, believe it or not, even in the spice, which is crazy. But there's a recipe card in here too. It's kind of a groovy little gift idea, and we've got those on our website. Or you can buy them individually. So if people, don't want to commit to something, they can pick up just the Moroccan twist or the steakhouse or something. We also have them in shakers. So we have steakhouse, sweet heat. This is the same product that's in the tin. Latin heat, Moroccan twist. And okay, can I tell you a funny story about Moroccan twist? Okay. So I don't know if my friend Wendy is watching this, but this is actually, it's named after a dance that my friend Wendy does when I cook with these ingredients. So I would cook with cardamom, cinnamon, allspice. I would make this little mix to give to people at Christmas time. And Wendy would walk into my house and go, Moroccan cuisine, and do this silly little dance. So she'd do the Moroccan twist. So it just seemed so appropriate, because it's a twist on Moroccan food, and it's a dance that Wendy does. Then our newest addition to the family, we've got Jamaican jerk, fiery Jamaican jerk. That is available in a tin size. It's nice and spicy with some habanero. And then we have our turkey roasting rub and brine spices. And there's a nice video on my website for making brine turkey with this, or brine pork tenderloin. There's a lot of cooking videos on our website. And then let's see what else. Behind me, we've got our kettle corn, which we've got a hatch chili, a sweet heat, and a chai spice kettle corn. Those are actually using some of our spices to flavor those up. And then we have a dip mix set. This is a fruit dip. And then we've got a spicy garlic, a onion dip, and a Mexican chorizo dip. And
I
those are
have to
all
show.
like, you can mix them with sour cream or
I have
mayonnaise.
to show this. My kids love it because we had one pack before. I don't know where I got it from. So we use this. It's just like one of those, I would say the artichoke dips, but
Yes.
it tastes better.
And
And it's
there's
very
no
easy.
stuff in there. It's just the seasonings. There's no, there's no dairy fluffy stuff there's nothing to thicken things up. It's just spices. It's you into your pantry, you've got your container of sour cream or mayonnaise, and you're like, I need to make a dip. And you throw everything in there, only you don't have to do it.
Yeah, I was about, because when I told my kids, it's like we can, because they thought it's not a spread mix. They thought it's one of those spices that I use, and they're like, no, we could actually make it. And they're like, oh yeah, because they're one of my kids is dairy free, so he's like, oh, can you buy now the dairy free sour cream so that we can make that dip? And because we already have the vegan mayonnaise at home, so we're like, yeah. They're like, oh, and they're like, is it for me? Because sometimes they think like, I said yes, and actually I was thinking we could put it in, instead of a dip, we could put it in something else like popcorn or whatever. So I'm hiding it because I don't want, because my kids I train them to be creative in the kitchen, so they can do, I would say, so that they would know how to cook. There will be like, if they see something and they tasted it, they're like, we can put this on this one, and I'm like, oh, wait up. Don't go crazy. But they will. They are actually, and that's one thing I love about your spices or and the mixes is that I would say I'm the frugalista mom. I do cook a lot, but the best thing about it, these are already mixed. It has, so you don't have to buy like 10 million ingredients like this one. I do have a recipe for Moroccan chicken in my blog, but I don't have to buy, if you would just like to try a recipe of something, like something easy, I don't have to buy separate bags of cardamom, allspice, and whatever, like cayenne pepper. If you only have like cinnamon at home, right? It is tough. And then some people would think, will I use the cardamom again for another recipe? Now this, because it's already in a mix, you can put it on chicken, you can put it on pork chops, or whatever things you have.
Oh yeah, and the price of cardamom too, right?
Yes. Oh yes.
It's funny at the retail level. A lot of our retailers are like, but why does this one cost more? I'm like, well, it's 12% cardamom, and they're like, oh, got it, okay. Like they instantly know exactly why, because it's got enough cardamom that it can't cost the same as something that is black pepper and garlic and fennel. It's just not the same.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing I could tell you guys about this mix is that because I know I've been using a lot of I've been cooking like all, I would say, ethnic cuisine. So I have a collection of spices. So one thing I loved about this is that this is not salty. Because some spices, like those flavoring mix, it's mostly salt and a little flavor. Yeah, this one actually has the flavor in it and just some salt for enhancement, right?
So I'm going to throw this out there. This is 100 milligrams. This is 100 milligrams. 110. I don't know what the jerk is. I don't have that one committed to memory. 100. They're all low. They're all low. The only one that's on the high side. Let's see what the brine is, because I don't use this. This is not. This is I can't read it. 135 for the Big Tom's turkey. This one is a seasoned salt. So this is designed to replace salt and pepper.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this one has the most at 200 milligrams. But that's still really low for a mixed spice. Typically mixed spices are in the same, they're in the 300, 400 milligram range for a comparable, serving size. And the FDA is the one that determines the serving size for us. It's lovely, right?
Yep, that's lovely. But that's one thing I like, because you have really the flavors and the spices in it and not much salt. Because I know most spices have salt and a little spice on it. So And salt is a lot cheaper than the spices.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's probably why they're doing it too.
Okay. So now I know we have these amazing products, and I'll be sharing it, all the recipes that I've come up with on the blog and on Instagram as well. And I think you've seen it in the stories too. Uh, I think aside from your amazing products, you're actually doing something good for the community. I mean, Sauce Goddess has a little soft spot on a
I
certain
do.
group of people. So will you tell us more about it?
Well, we have always used challenged adults to do our handwork. So this cute little gift pack, they do everything that's inside of this. So that tin that you held up, Rochie, hold that up again. So what came inside was a spice pouch. What's on the tin is 3 labels: top, bottom, and the side label. And then there's a recipe card in there. They do all of that. They put it all together. They put it in here. They put a little thing on it. It's fantastic. They
That's
do
the
the same
recipe
thing.
card.
Yeah, they do the same thing with the dip mixes. They build them. They put the little date stamp on them. They do everything. They build our palettes. It's really cool. It's really cool to give back to them. They have a skill set that I couldn't do that with a label all day long and have it still be straight on the jar. I just don't have that. I don't have that ability to focus like that, and I love giving back that way.
So what's the group again? The organization again?
Well, we have used a number of different organizations. Right now, we're using a group out of Higginsville, Missouri, called Lafayette County Enterprises. The state of California just changed some of their labor rulings for groups like this. And so most of the organizations that were able to put these people to work had to stop doing that.
Oh.
And it's really sad. It makes me bummed out because there's a lot of people now that they might be able to go to the same facility for a program, and they're going to exercise or watch TV or whatever. They don't get to earn money. Even though it wasn't a lot of money, they don't get to earn money. They don't get to have a feeling of success, a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling that they did something that matters. Even if they're challenged adults, they still, there's some of them that are very high functioning and still know exactly what they're doing. They just have a different skill set than you and I. I mean, it's neat. I love doing that.
That is amazing. I mean, actually, that's what my friends back in the Philippines, that's one thing that they wanted to do is those who have children who are autistic, and this one they do have a project called Project Inclusion, meaning they would get, as they get older, they have a certain skill set that could be I would say very useful in a certain work.
Yeah.
And they're the only ones that, they're very good at that. And they wanted to be recognized that they could do more than what we expect them to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really neat. And there's companies all over the country. The 2 that I used in California that are no longer able to do what they were doing is ARC of San Diego and Partnerships with Industry. And both of those have to do with, as I understand it, some of the laws that transpired last year within the labor laws and things like that. Or it may have changed over in January, but it just was something they, couldn't do anymore, unfortunately. So
I hope we have more of those again, right?
I know. It just has to do with how they're compensated and, the business model and all of that. So but that's okay. I'm able to do it in parts of the country that are still okay with that, and don't assume that business owners are taking advantage of people with disabilities, because I think that's where the stance comes from. California, they feel like we're taking advantage of those folks.
Oh, I think you're actually encouraging them and empowering them to do more, challenge themselves.
Well, that's what I think. I just think they get a lot out of it. And they're such happy people. They're just so happy to see people and so friendly. It's just really neat.
Okay, so before we go, can you believe it's almost an hour now?
No, I know. I
Yeah.
actually just looked at the timer. Whoa, 54 minutes. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, folks.
I know. We haven't seen the other products yet. I think we're going to have a part 2 on this soon, right?
No, I mean, I kind of showed everything pretty much. Yeah. So we're
So before we go, are there any tips you would like to share to those who want to start their own businesses as well? And what can they do like right now in this situation?
Well, you got to come up with a plan. Like I was saying earlier, you've got to have a plan and have some focus and figure out if you even have a customer to begin with, because that's the most important thing. And you know that from being in marketing. If there is no customer, it's not gonna happen. You can have a great product and you can have a wonderful idea and you can have a passion for what you're doing, but if nobody wants to spend money on it, it's a non-starter.
Mm-hmm. That's why you need to invest in marketing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that is awesome. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Jennifer.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
And guys, don't forget, it's the Sauce Goddess. So
yes, saucegoddess.com.
Saucegoddess.com, where you can see all their products are actually gluten-free, right?
Yeah.
They are vegan. All of them are vegan?
All of them are vegan.
Yeah.
Dairy-free. They've been vegan since the very beginning.
And then and for those, it's non-GMO, and yes, it's gluten-free certified.
I'm going to put this right there.
There you go. It's saucegoddess.com, right?
I am having so much trouble with my camera. It's so funny. It seems upside down and backwards. So I keep saying, hey, look at this. Wait, no, look at this.
No, it's on the right one. So don't forget, it's a woman-owned business. So there you go. You can support it. You can, when you buy a product too, you're also supporting those who are helping the company out, those who are, I would say, challenged adults.
Yeah.
They're also helping out as well. So you're not only making good barbecue or good meats or good food, you're also helping somebody, for a good cause.
Yes.
Right?
And we do have a little, we have an insider newsletter that we send out. And so if anyone wants to sign up for that, there's a discount code that they'll be sent when they sign up. So they can shop till they drop if they'd like. Or we do have it in about 2,500, 3,000 retail locations around the country. So from normal grocery stores to specialty stores, to specialty gift stores like Home Goods. Yeah. So that's but Home Goods is kind of fun. They like to have us all mine for the goodies. So you might find one, of something.
I know, right?
Not a spread, but it's kind of a fun place to go shopping if you're looking for something sort of fun like that. But yeah, I mean, you go to our website. There's a little map on there. You can put in where you live and see what's close.
So guys, I'm going to put all the links with this video soon. Once it's up in the description box, I will put all the links for you to click and shop and also to learn more about the Sauce Goddess. So with that, I just want to say thank you guys for staying with us. It's been a nice evening. If there are some technical difficulties, in my part, I did have one, but thank you so much for staying for an hour. And don't forget, next week, our show is now on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 a.m. Fridays, Manila time. So don't forget, Getting Candid with Rochie is now back, and we hope to hear from you soon. Okay, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification for our next video. So see you soon, guys. Bye.